final topic of the discussion of this Panchayat is Brics film market opportunities and challenges. And for this we have very eminent panel with us. So I would like to call upon stage panelists from China, Ms. Xin Ningning, who's a producer. From India, we have Dr. BBL Madhukar, who is the Secretary General, Brics CCI from India. From Russia, we have Ms. Natalia Mokritsky, who is a producer. And then we have from Brazil, Mr. Francis Wagner dos Reis, who's a jury member also. And from South Africa, we have Mr. Messrs. Thumisen Gumbi, who's a producer. And to moderate today's discussion, we have eminent film journalist with us, Mr. Arnab Banerjee. You can ask your questions when the discussion will get over, and it's a request to keep your phone on silent mode. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. So we are here to discuss how in the bill can act as a platform for people of the film industry of member country. Of course, there are challenges, far too many of them. But there are all, let me straight away ask my panelist here, do you think...
My name is Francis Wagner dos Reis, I'm from Brazil, and I'm very glad to be here. My English is not very good. We Brazilians don't speak
okay.
very well. Okay,
I'm sure they
understand. But it's a big opportunity to be here to strengthen the ties, the cultural ties and the economic ties. In Brazil, we have a different experience with cinema than India, China, South Africa. Is very peculiar, and Brazil need to learn some things with India, for example, with China. India in Brazil we know the Indian cinema, but for us, the Bollywood and other cinemas here is very far. The Chinese cinema is very far too. And for you, Indians, Chinese, Brazil is the most far and unknown cinema. Because the India have old relation with China, South Africa with India, Russia with China and India. Brazil is the most unknown here. And okay.
Mr. Gumbi, your thoughts?
Hi, I'm Dumi Gumbi from South Africa, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be here in India. It's actually my second time around in India. The last time I was in Mumbai, actually doing a co-production with Canada, and we did an animation series here at UTV Studios. It was about 10 years ago. Yeah, I think it's been very eye-opening being here for the last few days. I think there are more opportunities than challenges. I think the challenges probably are more towards language, but I think we can overcome those quite easily. But I think the opportunities, as I said, I mean, we've done work already with this country, and I do agree with my colleague here that we Brazilians and South Africans are sort of like a little, we're a small country. We are a small industry. in terms of the film industry as well. So I'm here to basically learn from, the Russians that are producing some amazing films that we've seen the last few days. India is it's a massive industry, and we've seen it with the screenings, where the screenings are completely sold out and full. And, so we can learn a lot from our Indian counterparts, as well as China. Obviously it's a big market. And yeah, I see a lot of opportunities for our smaller countries trying to infiltrate these bigger markets, and also trying to work and maybe make films I've got a project that I'm developing at the moment where
Even a collaboration?
Yeah, we're looking for collaboration with an Indian production company, but we're probably looking more for a big Bollywood star to star in that film that we'll shoot in South Africa.
Okay. Dr. Madhukar, as Secretary General, you should tell us something more about opportunities.
I must say that India is at the top of the world in respect of movie production. There are about 1,200, 1,300 movies which are produced annually in India. And it earns a revenue of about $3 to $4 billion worth of Indian rupees. And it implies about 70 to 80 million people, directly and indirectly, in the industry. And it's a huge industry by itself. And there's a huge mass of people who are involved in this industry, in the sense that they all like to see movies, watch movies, and of late, these movies are also getting good amount of revenue out of their efforts and investments, which was not the case a few years ago. Today we hear that a movie went for show, exhibition, and it earned a revenue of 500 crores of rupees, or say about a large amount. I must say, in one movie they are able to earn revenue generated globally.
Okay.
Compared to that, it's a huge industry. It's the biggest movie industry in the world. Even then, despite being the largest movie producer in the world, India's revenue generation is very poor.
Right.
This is about the situation of Indian movies.
Also, are we open to other cultures or films of other cultures, films of other countries, where probably there's a different idiom being spoken?
Yes, sure. We have from time to time produced movies involving, places and cultures of other countries as well.
Speak into the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Yeah, we have several such movies which we have produced, where we have used locations abroad, as well as the kind of involving the culture and cuisine of other countries as well.
Okay.
And there has been a mix of cultures, about all these things.
Right.
As it is in India itself, we have various cultures, various languages,
Right.
in which the movies are produced, and we learn from each other's experience.
Okay. Ms. Shin Ling Ting,
Yes.
your thoughts? Do you agree with Dr. Madhukar?
Yeah, I agree, but not sure the Indian film industry and I don't know how to say the 就是印度的电影。
She's not very clear about the Indian film industry, so she
Right.
can talk
Yeah.
about the Chinese film industry.
Yeah, please talk about Chinese.
Yeah. I'm from Wanda Picture, and as you know, Wanda Picture is the most important film group in China, and my translator will help me to show you clearly. 其实这2年中国的电影发展的非常的快，然后去年的票房已经到了440亿的人民币，有37000块的银幕，所以这是一个非常大的一个市场。
So, in recent years, Chinese film industries has grown tremendously, and regarding last 2 years, it has crossed the 4 billion renminbi, so Chinese yuan, the industry.
然后我们国内的影院已经达到了6000家，就 6,000.
Yeah. And domestic market has already crossed the 6,000 million renminbi, yuan.
Okay. Ms. Natalia has joined us late. You please share with us what you feel about the Brics Film Festival and how it can help explore areas of cooperation between member countries, the film industry of different member countries.
Understand. Good afternoon. My name is Natalia Makritskaya. I'm from Moscow, from Russia. I'm producer. I'm first time in India. Sorry, my bad language. Maybe I will.
No, that's absolutely fine.
Excuse me. I'm first time in India, and I'm first time on this festival. This festival, first edition. That's why all of us are first time here. I want to say that in Russia we have, unfortunately, maybe I don't tell this truth, but I will tell you. We have no ungovernmental cinematography. In our country, government, in two funds, Minister of Culture and Fund of Cinema, they give more than $800 million for participation of Russian cinema. Because cinema, it's a policy, it's ideology, and our government understands this, and it's good for us.
Okay.
You see, because our market is not very big, Russian, you know that maybe 240 million people of Russians are living now in the modern Russia. No, 140 million, sorry me, 140 million, sorry, it was Soviet Union, excuse me. 140 million are living now in Russia. That's why, of course, it's not big market. Several years, for 10 years, all of Russian cinematographers dream about Chinese market. We think that it's our dream. We want to go to this market,
right.
And we try to find different ways how to do it. You see, and I'm not sure that we are successful on this way. But we have 2 or 3 big Russian films, war films, which were on this market, which were in theaters in China.
Right.
But when I came here, I understand only now how huge and great and very near and close to us we have cinema markets in India and in Brazil. And I hope in South Africa. Not very big, but I think, no? Little. Yeah, really.
Okay.
You see, I was last year in South Africa, in Johannesburg, and we showed there our Battle of Sevastopol. There were 200 South Africans. We were so proud of that.
But our population is, what, 50 million people? So it's very small. and we wish we had $800 million pumped into our industry.
Well said. I want to ask all my panelists here, you're all creative people. Does the thought of market, the very word market somehow doesn't come naturally to most of you, I'm sure. Does the very word market, what do you feel about it? I mean, when you think of marketing your film, marketing your creativity, your passion, how do you go about doing it?
I mean, I think it's important because to make films is very expensive. It costs millions of rands or dollars. So I think it's very critical that when you are purely as a business venture. So I think marketing. I think that's what we're struggling with in our country in South Africa. Is that how do we actually market our films effectively and properly for them to actually reach the audiences that it's intended for. So for me, I think sales, marketing, and distribution is a critical part of our value chain as a nation. I think the creativity part, I think we are well on our way on actually breaking that glass ceiling of I think some of the films we've seen, like Kalushi, which was just screened about a couple of hours ago. as well as Tess, as well as Free State. I mean, these films are going all over the world. So I think creativity-wise, we're there. But I think for us, that's what we need to be working on, is how do we actually get our films out there, not just in our own country, because we're actually struggling with that, but also how do we get our films to the rest of the world so we can showcase what the kind of films that are coming out of South Africa are looking like.
Okay. Francis?
Brazil has a population of 200 million people, very big. There are many market opportunities to cinema theaters, TV, video on demand. Ex-President Lula and ex-President now Dilma Rousseff helped promote the film market by creating laws that today move $5 billion a year and generate thousands of jobs. But our big problem is distribution. It's a big problem in distribution and our market, 85%, is dominated by the American movies. Is the big problem.
Okay.
We have a lot of money, but our market is dominated.
Okay. Ms. Shin, your thoughts? And I'd like to add one more question. Do you think producers and directors, they're adapting themselves to different demands of the market as well? For instance, Relativity Media made a film, it's what's called, I think, 21 and Over, and it had two different endings. One for the American audiences and another one for the Chinese audiences. So do you think this kind of thing is a good thing, or does it happen too often?
Very difficult question.
Okay, Dr. Madhukar, if you may.
I just want to confirm your question. I want to say, 其实在中国要平衡艺术跟市场是一件，我承认这是一件非常难的事情。
So, as an artist talking about market, I'm finding it very difficult in China.
那通常如果我们要去做一些比较偏艺术一些的电影的话，我们通常都会用一些比较 low budget 的方式去拍摄。对。
So someday it's never been in the same, and it has the different perspective of everybody has a different take on it. So it cannot be generalized, as she says.
对，那然后
第二个问题就是这样的，是现在的市场很多导演很多那个制片，他们工作按照要求市场的要求，你看这个问题对什么样的感觉？
其实中国电影的工业化还不是特别成熟，就是film industry 这块还不是很成熟。
So regarding the second question you asked, that these days directors and the producers are working according to the demand of the market. So in Chinese market, Chinese film industry, this situation is not that severe right now.
所以导演跟制片人之间经常会吵架，因为是要市场还是要艺术这件事，经常会吵架。
So most of the time, many times, directors and producers, they go over a fight whether you want to serve the market or you want to serve your
own creativity.
Yeah,
but do you foresee a situation when this thing will happen more and more?
未来你想什么样有这样的情况比较多吗？
其实就站在中国电影的角度来说，制片人中间制会比较好一些。对。
So in Chinese film industry, so I wish and I hope this kind of situation would not be.
Okay. Dr. Madhukar, you were about to say something.
Yeah. You see about this ending, the two different languages and two different places involved, is a very rare thing which is done.
Right.
But of course, it is desirable to do it.
It is desirable.
It is desirable for the purpose of marketing. As far as marketing is concerned, India is certainly doing very aggressive marketing. That's why, of late, we find that in the last couple of years, we find the demand for Indian movies abroad, particularly among the what you call diaspora, Indian diaspora. That has been a great source of motivation for us, for our industry. And they are quite encouraging. They are quite encouraging. Our movies are doing very well abroad, and that's why that's bringing about, I would say, about 1/5 of the revenue comes from abroad. That's a good source of income.
Also, Hollywood, it has always been more of a leader. And lately we've seen Hollywood films being more politically neutral. So do you think this kind of a thing would happen and it's going to benefit the film industries of various countries?
Well, very difficult to say because, India is also equally influenced by various factors.
Mm-hmm.
The political reasons are also there. Mm-hmm. But there are other compulsions as well. The producer wants one way to do, the director wants another way to do, and this conflict has been a perpetual thing, which will continue for a long time. But nevertheless, in the present times, we have seen that the directors have tried to rule more than the producers, because the producers know that if the director is not given a free hand, the movie itself would be a flop. So that's a good development.
Looking for saleability.
Saleability of the movie. That's what it is.
And I agree with that. I think it's a matter of if you've made a film and you want to enter a different market, what dictates is, if you change the ending, is it going to translate into you making a sale? Ultimately as producers, that's what we care about. Is that we need to basically sell these films across the world as humanly possible. So if you don't change the ending and then the sale is taken off the table, you're not doing good business.
Right. So that brings us to a very relevant point, which is, would creating a common film market in the Brics countries solve this problem? Because all of you have some opportunities and many challenges. So do you think it can be solved?
Yeah. You see, recently, I happened to be, incidentally, Secretary General of Brics Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We got a proposal from a Russian producer, and more than that, the producer come director, involving, requesting us to get some funding for a theme which involves that there will be Indian content in it, that there's somebody who comes from Russia, comes to a city in Delhi, in India, and then and gets into some kind of relationship with some women, and then the story develops into something which results in a friendly note. So therefore, that involves two countries in the whole entire exercise. So they had sought our assistance in saying that this movie comes into being because they are short of funds, and that's why they were looking for fund support. Now, fund support has been a problem with many of the producers because many good movies are not done because of the lack of funding.
Right.
So this is another area in which there could be cooperation among all these 5 countries, Brics nations, that they could pull their energies and talents together and produce something which is acceptable by and large to all the 5 countries. So that exercise can start. I gave just an example that Russians are very keen to develop things like that with India. And there have been occasions when Indian movies like 420 or
Raj Kapoor's
movies were very popular in Russia.
Mm-hmm. Natalia, your thoughts?
You see, every hour cinematographers are really successful on the main film festivals. I know brilliant South African films and Indian and, of course, Chinese and others. You see, I think that we have to find our union in making big budget films. We try to find themes, topics in our history. Maybe you see, I've spoken with you about Pushkin, for example. The producer proposed for me, maybe we can think about this, about Pushkin, Africa and Russia, and it's really interesting. We try to unite our budgets, and if every nation of BRICS will give, как-то понятие, удостоверение национального фильма, national film.
national production with all the...
Yes, if in every country, for example, a country of Brics, we can receive that it is national for all countries, maybe it will be Russian and Indian, but it has been national for all countries, and it will not pay doubts and others in the market. I think we'll do this. It can be business, you see. I think it's artificial, but and it's a dream, but only this can move this situation.
So one has to think of business also, and not just creativity alone, Mr. Kumi?
Oh, yeah, I think you have to. I think, I mean, for us, I mean, we're probably the smallest country, as part of Brics. So for us, I mean, like I said, 53 million people, the entire population, and probably of those who can actually afford to buy movie tickets, it's probably a million of those people. So there's our market is very, very small. So we need to actually work within the BRICS countries to basically try and get our films into those markets, because that's the only way we as producers or these films will actually grow and make money, so that we don't have to rely on government as much as we are doing it at the moment. Okay. So for me, that's the opportunity that I see with this market.
Also, India is probably one of the few countries in the world where the market is not dominated by American films, and the government compensates some filmmakers for part of their production costs. For instance, as Dr. Madhukar rightly said, we make about 1300 to 1400 films a year, and a small percentage of these films is supported by the National Film Development Corporation. Earlier it was more. And I think the move is on to get more national support, government support. So is this also happening in your own countries as well? The government, how important or how much is the support coming from the government?
Well, I mean, for us in South Africa, it's without government involvement, there'll be no film industry. We've got the National Film and Video Foundation, which helps with development of some of these films. And then after you've gone through the development process with them, you can then submit your film or your screenplay to then be assessed for film production finance. It's not a lot of money, but it helps. And then we also have the Department of Trade and Industry, where they have rebates. So for every film that you make for up to a certain amount of a budget, you get 35% back. So if we didn't have that, I think 5-10 years ago, we're probably making about 5-6 films a year, whereas today we're making over 30 films a year. And that growth has been because of government involvement. And we still would like to see more, but the private sector in South Africa, or private investment, private equity, just simply doesn't exist, because we don't have a big enough market for these films to actually go out and make huge profits. So your private equity investors have shied away from the film industry. So without government, we will be struggling to make films in South Africa.
Okay, Francis, what about your country?
In Brazil, every money comes to government. Every money. But we have a lot of money, but we don't know what we have to do to building a market, okay? Right. But for me, the principal question is the government need to set rules for the American industry. It's a massacre, a cultural massacre, okay? And is we have money, we have politics about cinema, but the American industry play very, very hard. It's the big problem.
Okay. Ms. Ning, is private investment something that is going to happen or has already happened in your country?
其实现在中国因为非常有钱，所以投电影的不管是电影圈的人还是电影圈外的人都非常非常多，所以其实中国不缺钱，但是会非常缺好的内容。
Of the total cost of projection. So this is happening, but then the government coming to help the people should be there for the small producers.
But as private producers, you have a huge budget, not just for filmmaking, but also for marketing and, publicity, which is also equally important these days, which is why I think a lot of private players, in fact, the entire Bollywood is ruled by private funders.
It is, but then the government has a role also to promote small entrepreneurs who are, who may be a creative, a person having a lot of creativity. That is not always encouraged because the funding is so poor that is not enough to support making of a good movie.
Okay. So do you see a possible combination of resources of the BRICS countries in the shape of joint film productions?
Yeah, this proposal has been, Natalia has already said that this is possible to make an experiment. Going to start somewhere.
Collaborations. Are you also referring to a common pool of actors and technicians collaborating?
Yeah, sure, by all means. We have a lot of things to share. Every country has grown up on its own, and they all have developed all kinds of technicians and people who are making it. So there are a whole lot of people who are involved in this. So there should be an experience sharing, technology sharing, and all kinds of sharing that can be done. If the talents are everywhere, we should be able to pull them, we should be able to bring their best for the world to see.
Right. Ms. Ninding, do you think collaborations will really affect the market in a positive way?
其实我觉得不同的市场的观众对于电影的口味是不同的，我觉得这是一个很大的挑战。
I believe that we have the different markets and we have different tastes in the different markets, so that needs to be taken care of.
对，这样中国观众可能比如说印度观众看一部中国的电影，那他们可能会觉得跟中国观众看中国的电影那种感觉一定是不一样，所以我觉得这是一个需要大家去尽量平衡的一个东西，但这个在我们实际操作过程当中发现非常的困难，但是我们可以尽力啊。
Okay. So, for example, an Indian watching Chinese movie would always be different from the Chinese person watching a Chinese movie. So, similarly, that goes with the every nation here. When we talk about cooperation, we need to look at these are one of the major problems and challenges we have to face, and if we can successfully deal with it, so of course we have a great opportunity, and the market is always great.
Francis?
He will be translated.
Try that.
Diz que as parcerias entre coproduções para nós é muito importante.
Okay. Say that the cooperation for Brazilian people are very important.
Mas nós queremos entrar como parceiros, porque o risco que a gente pode correr é que um mercado mais forte, com mais dinheiro, nos colonize também, como faz os Estados Unidos.
But what we want is enter as partners, because the risk that we can take is the market, the biggest market, biggest market, can colonize it, as US, for example.
E como o nosso cinema, o cinema brasileiro é muito distante, talvez seja necessário que esses países parceiros do BRICS venham conhecer o nosso cinema e as nossas políticas cinematográficas.
And also, as the Brazilian cinema is very distant, it's very much important to the BRICS countries to go to Brazil and know our politics, our cinematic politics.
Okay. So it cannot be just cinema alone. I'm sure there are other things also which member countries should understand of one another. For instance, food, culture, music, and also the political leanings of each country. So, do you think this is a big challenge? Do you think this can be done with ease?
I think it can. I mean, I think I think ultimately we're all storytellers. We want to make stories that actually mean something, and I think we can find common ground. And I think maybe we shouldn't just be looking at live action films. There's probably a more natural fit, which is probably animation. As I've stated earlier, is that I've produced a TV series in Mumbai, and I think a couple of South African films have actually been screened in Russia and in China, and they did really, really well. So maybe it's not just live action; it's also maybe animated productions, which probably are more easy to actually, where we can actually collaborate amongst these different countries. Because with animation, there's dubbing, so we can, I think maybe we should also be looking towards that sector as well.
So, Hollywood has done it all these decades. I mean, we have all grown up watching a whole lot of Hollywood movies, and they've been completely alien to some of our cultures. So, what else do you think needs to be done? I mean, cinema, of course, you're trying to reach out to a wider audience with the kind of films that you're planning to make or have already made. But what else? As I said, cinema cannot be this sole tool for reaching out to other countries or making new audiences. What else, Dr. Bhaduga, you think needs to be done?
See, one thing we must realize, which are these 5 countries is to make the Brics bloc. Sorry. I'm sorry. So what happens that these 5 countries make the Brics bloc. All the 5 countries are developing countries. And developing countries have some common themes. Common themes are like lack of education, poverty, lack of good health care facilities. And there are common things like all the 5 countries are having large coastal areas, having problems of natural disaster. Mm-hmm. In all these areas, there could be stories, there could be contents revolving around these areas. If there is a movie made on some of these areas, then it could have a common appeal. And it's possible to do involving a story how a flood was tackled, how an earthquake situation came and it was tackled, how a society or a village or a place to live as had very less number of educated people and was transformed. If stories are built around these issues, which are of common interest and common applicability, then there is a relevance in making such things.
Okay. Ms. Tengning? Meanwhile, if I may ask the audience, how many of you will actually throng to a nearby multiplex to see a film from Brazil or South Africa? The way you queue up to see a Karan Johar just after this. Just a second. I'm asking you a question. Please sit down. Let me ask a question first. So, the way you queue up to see a Karan Johar film, would you actually queue up to see a film from Brazil or South Africa?
If it's good enough, yes, sure.
Okay.
Here's professionals, you see. No. You see, I'm not agree. You see, our common problems of our developing countries absolutely are not interested with the public. Poverty, immigrations and others. As I think, people doesn't want to see and to pay money for ticket to see how it's in Russia poor people are living or in South Africa. I'm sure that it's a problem. We have to find tales. I'm sure that Russian children will see high budget Indian tale. Okay. With a great interest. Mm-hmm. I'm sure big budget tale or South African tale, I don't know, Brazilian tale, and high budget Russian tale will be interested for all of you too, I'm sure.
Okay, the thematic content of films has to appeal to
People don't think like this.
Sure, it's my opinion, of course.
No, but then if a story is not just about the poverty being shown, but also about transformation. Transformation taking place in a society which is hardly developed, which is not developed, which is having poverty, which is having lack of education, but transformation process. itself could be rewarding and motivating.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we can have some questions from the audience now. Yes, gentlemen, please give him a mic.
Actually, my name is Saxena. I had been traveling to Brazil and a whole lot of countries. See, I find an immediate market for films from Brazil and China. Like yesterday, we saw this film, The Book of Love. There was no space to stand there. And this film was like an average Indian film, you know. So it was a great hit. Now, I will tell about Russian films. You know, I still remember my childhood days when there was a film called Pardesi about Afanasy Nikitin. It was a great hit in India. And Mera Naam Joker, if you remember, where there is a central part where Ludmila acted in that film. We all love that part. So there is a tremendous amount of market. And there
but would you buy a ticket?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. If you make films,
that's a very welcome
absolutely.
Sign. Yeah.
And in India, people are crazy about films. And the kind of money films make with the numbers, you make a film, I assure you, few $1 million business. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
We, next edition, we have to organize film market, BRICS of countries of BRICS. You see, it will be much more useful, you see, and pragmatic.
Yeah, I also think maybe the next step should be in each country we start showcasing films from the BRICS countries. So in South Africa, we actually have an Indian film festival that actually just showcases Indian films. Same thing with Russia, same thing with Brazil, and same thing with China. I think like then the audiences will get to know how and what these movies look like, so that like they can also learn where this kind of different cinema. I think maybe that's the next step.
Okay.
Anji, my question is, we are thinking in terms of collaboration. I fail to understand why we are not thinking of bringing top films from one area to the other area. For example, I saw today this Go Away Mr. Tumor. Such a marvelous movie. I was shocked to see that movie. Really, I would request the organizers to repeat that movie once again tomorrow. There is another day available. We would like to show.
Well, the whole thing boils down to one thing, economics.
I want to come to my question. My question is why Chinese such movies are not coming to India. It would be a super hit. I would rather say better than the Three Idiots, that movies. This is my assessment.
Thank you.
Why such movies are not coming to India? I fail to understand why Chinese people are just sitting and making billions out of that movie, but not taking their movie here and there.
I think you are scared of the challenges. You have not explored the opportunities in India.
Exactly.
Okay.
You have never tried to explore the opportunities.
Okay.
You got in India 1.2 billion audience. You don't want to explore.
No, I understand. It's a huge market. The biggest market. My question was, which I asked this gentleman also, that would you queue up and actually buy a ticket to watch a movie like this? That was my question. Yeah, you would like to answer, Mr. Gumbe?
Would I do it?
No. What he asked. He said, why, some of the top movies, blockbusters, are not being marketed.
Well, I think maybe my Indian counterpart can answer that question. Well, I mean, in South Africa, we suffer the same issues. We don't see films from other countries other than Hollywood films. So I think there is an opportunity for movies from BRICS countries to actually be marketed in South Africa. Whether people will actually line up, as you call it, and buy tickets, it's debatable. I mean, in South Africa, we're suffering from what she said as well, is that especially black audiences, they just don't want to consume films that remind them of their daily lives in terms of like the poverty and the hard struggle of their daily lives. That's why we as a company, we've decided that we're gonna start making more contemporary, modern, and more commercial films, like romantic comedies and the like. So, but like I said earlier, I think what we probably need to be doing in these countries is start exposing our audiences of the different films that are coming out from the BRICS countries. And I think build an audience that way.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think they asked you the question, so please.
很谢谢刚刚那个观众很喜欢我们的 Go Away Mr. Two 嘛，然后其实这部电影没有印度的发行商来找我们发行，我也觉得挺奇怪的。
So first of all, thanks a lot for liking the movie, and so far I'm not so sure about releasing in India the procedures, and we didn't find the right distributors in India for that movie.
对，如果我觉得就是有更多的渠道可以让几个国家的发行商可以多一些的交流，我觉得可能大家彼此之间会知道更多的对方的电影。然后如果万达有机会的话，可以来印度盖电影院。
But there is a hope, and if this kind of interactions and this kind of communication will take place regularly, then of course we will have some opportunities to have our movies here and from Indian movies to our market, and hopefully production house Vanta, which is their production house, so they will find some way to release their movies in India as well.
Dr. Madhukar, do you think all blockbusters of our country should be exhibited in other countries to make a beginning somewhere?
No, should be, but again it is left to the individual producer or the persons who have a stake in that movie to promote their own thing in other countries.
Okay. You wanted to add something?
No Brasil, nós temos também muitas comédias, muitos filmes comerciais.
In Brazil, we also have many commercial movies.
Muitas comédias.
And like humor movies, comedy movies.
Como Go Away, Mr. Truman.
Like Go Away, Mr. Truman.
Mas nós acreditamos também que o mercado precisa ser diversificado.
But we also believe that the market has to be diversified.
Eu quero ver, por exemplo, e boa parte do público brasileiro quer ver, os problemas, por exemplo, no interior da Rússia, no interior da África do Sul.
What I want to see, and I believe that many Brazilians want to see, is like the problems in the countryside of Russia, countryside of South Africa, the problems they face.
Por isso eu discordo da amiga russa, porque a gente acha que o mercado precisa ser, para ele ir para frente, precisa ser diversificado, trabalhar com capital financeiro, mas também com capital simbólico.
That's why I don't believe the Russians said. I believe that we have to diversify the market. We also have to work with the money, but also have to work with the symbolic capital, so the cinema can go on.
I think there's a question.
Mike is here.
Please take a mic.
Hi. My question to all panelists, if you are offered to make a movie on any Indian story or subject, which is the most favorable subject close to your heart, and what do you think the potential to market and as a commercial aspect of that movie? Thanks.
I would say, Brics would be a next forum for, we can make a parallel contribution for the Hollywood.
Mr. Govind, would like to...
Excuse me, my question is not answered yet.
We, as I said earlier, we as a company are actually developing a film where we're looking at using an Indian actress to be in this film, where but the entire film happens in South Africa. So it's a love story. It's a modern film. It will probably be a romantic comedy. We are into very specific genre films. We just finished shooting a horror film, so that's what we are doing as a business. So for me, I'd be interested in more commercially driven films than sort of like historical epic dramas. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for action-packed comedy, those kind of films. So if somebody were to give me a script like that, and then I'll be very excited to get involved in a project of that nature.
Okay, Natalia.
Sorry, our film director wants to propose one theme. Galina Evtushenko.
Hello. First of all, I would like to do the film about the Dr. Hafkin, whom Chekhov called him the unknown people, the most unknown people in the world. He was a doctor who bring the injection against chuma and cholera plague and cholera in India. It is very interesting story, and if we will have an opportunity to make a film among Russia and India, it will be.
Okay.
Thank you.
Miss.
We have many people, well-known people, Russian people who lived in India, for example, Rerich and others. Of course, we can't find themes, of course, but we have to find money and we have to find interest and we have to sign some agreement.
No, but if you got an opportunity, what would you focus on? I mean, if you...
Me?
Yeah, I mean, that's what he asked this gentleman. What would be the theme of the film? What would you like to...
We can't to find common theme. Of course, we have to find it. It can be Indian tale.
They would like to make films on Indian characters or stories here. Would you like to invest?
Why not? I think it will be interesting too, of course.
This is another aspect.
Yeah.
其实我想说是，中国现在有一些很棒的电影在印度拍，比如说 Jackie Chan 的功夫瑜伽，然后
There are, of course, some Chinese films and the Chinese directors and actors. They have worked in Indian conditions and like Jackie Chan.
那中国人可能更喜欢的是一个中国人在印度发生的一些奇遇的故事，然后跟印度人一起经历了一些很好玩的事情。
And Chinese people always love to see that a Chinese person or Chinese protagonist comes to India, and the story is based in India, and with the Indian counterpart, the story goes on. So they will imagine they are into some trouble, and they both together get out of it.
Okay.
So in Indian condition.
Francis, you wanted to add something?
Eu faria uma comédia sobre choque cultural, porque o que eu passei aqui em documentos de choque cultural, ou a história de Madre Teresa de Calcutá, porque o Brasil é o maior país católico do mundo e se interessa.
What I would like to do about India is about a comedy, about the cultural shock that I've been seeing, because I've been here in India those days and I realized that is a interesting topic to do. And also I will do something, the story about Maria Teresa de Calcutta. Mother Teresa de Calcutta. Sorry.
Okay.
And because the Brazil is the most Catholic country in the world, and I'm sure they're going to be interested about this story.
Okay, I think we have just some time left for one last question. So anybody? Yeah.
I have a small thing to add.
Yeah, sorry.
See, you were talking about Mother Teresa. You raised this question. You see, there was a time when I used to be very, very known to Mother Teresa. And at one time I wrote a story which was covering her field of work. Related to that, I built a story, got the script also made, narrated the story to Mother Teresa. She liked the story. And I said that, Mother, I want your permission to make a movie. She said, from my side, it's okay. But let me see if I could really do it. I said, you have to only appear for 10 minutes in the movie. The rest of it will be done through other ways. Other ways. So she said, okay. Then she got the whole thing examined. She agreed for the whole thing. She gave me letters addressed to various units of hers in India, where I could go and talk to people to cover the story. I brought the director and the producer also to her, but her doctors didn't permit her. Doctors said that, well, you can't wear the light, the burden of that light and focus on her. No, she will not be able to bear that because of her frail health. So
but it was a
denied.
fiction. He could have taken a professional actor. It was a feature film.
You see, the point is that it's okay. I have still the script with me. I have got those letters written by Mother Teresa, addressed to me in her own hand. Addressed to me. I have got those letters. To make it more authentic, to appear to anybody, that this was blessed by her.
Oh, that sure was our loss. So, yeah, one last question.
This is something.
He wants to know how will you find a good distributor for your films in one of the Brics. countries?
Well, I think in our country you have to make a good film. I think 10 years ago you could make a feature film. You could approach a distributor because there were no films being produced. It would have been much easier to get your film onto the screens. But today it's completely changed. It's based on quality. It's based on whether they think that your particular film is actually going to make money in the box office. If they don't think it's gonna make any money, they don't touch it.
I think the challenges are in your court only. Opportunities are here. You are scared of the challenges. You don't have the audience. Your audience. You can see how many Russians, how many Brazilians, how many Chinese have come to watch.
Can I please sorry, can I just say something with what the gentleman just said there? Yeah. I'll just use myself as an example. We just screened the film Kalushi there. There was a great response to it. People loved it, and then they said to me, how can that film be distributed in India, So how does a filmmaker like myself bring Kalushi, for instance, to the distributors? And I think I forget her name. The lady from China just said that. Well, she's also got her film here, but she just really wouldn't know how to navigate the space here to say, "Here's my film. I would like to bring it here." Because the gentleman was just saying, "I love that film. I'd like to see it again." It's not good enough to see these films only at festivals. They need to be able. And how do you penetrate the market? So I got to find out about 3 struggle icons. Where the gentleman was saying to me, "Why don't you make a film about Bharat Singh?" And I said, "Who? What's his name?" Bhagat Singh, and I don't know who they are, but those are films that are an opportunity that the audience here in India would love.
To the other country. I want to ask that how Hollywood has created that sensibility that it creates a film like Interstellar or other films, and it does a global market. It does have a global market. It has a market in Brazil. It has a market in China.
They've been doing it for decades, as I said. It's not just the films alone. Their marketing and distribution, everything. And their language. We are all familiar with their language for decades now. I mean, for centuries rather. So I don't think they really have any challenge as such. But we can see that there are challenges, but there are also quite a few opportunities as well. Thanks to festivals like Brics. I'm sure in the near future, in the next Brics, we're going to have some more films from one of these countries, or all the countries in fact. Thank you so much. Thanks.
So I guess with this we come to an end of this discussion. But before you all go, I would like to call upon stage Sri C. Senthil Rajan, who will be giving closing remarks for this ceremony.
On behalf of the Director of Film Festivals, I would like to thank all the delegates who participated in the Brics Film Panchayat. This is the last Brics Film Panchayat that we have scheduled for this festival. I am very thankful to all the participants and the students who had actually made use of these sessions. But the 2-3 important things that I would like to tell the international film delegates. The last question that I have just was answered regarding reaching out to the Indian markets. I would like to invite them to participate in the International Film Festival of India and Goa, where they will be able to meet more producers. The schedule is from 20th to 28th, and we are planning to invite sales agents from different parts of the world and India there. So it will be an opportunity for all the filmmakers to reach out at Goa to the Indian market. So I think that would be the next big destination that we would like all our delegates to reach. And it's an invitation for all the participants also that our registration will be opening for the International Film Festival very soon. So if you could register as a regular delegate, it would be an opportunity to get to see more films than the ones that you saw here at the Brics. Thank you.